How often do we pause to reflect on the nature of our thoughts and actions? In the pursuit of wisdom, one of the greatest obstacles we face is our own ignorance, a blindness not always visible to ourselves but glaringly evident to others. The Stoics, those ancient guides of reason and virtue, believe that self-awareness begins with the humble acknowledgement of our limitations. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, taught that wisdom does not stem from claiming to know everything, but from realizing how little we truly understand. In this way, recognizing foolishness, both in ourselves and those around us, is the first crucial step toward enlightenment. But what is foolishness, and how does it manifest in our lives? Foolishness, in the Stoic sense, is not merely a lack of intelligence, but a set of patterns that block personal growth. It is the closed mind that resists learning, the ego that blames others, and the unchecked confidence that thrives on ignorance. It appears in impulsive actions devoid of foresight, in negativity that clouds our thinking, and in the absence of empathy, which disconnects us from others. These traits are more than just personal flaws. They are barriers to the Stoic ideal of becoming one's best self. The purpose of identifying these signs is not to judge others harshly, but to turn inward and examine the areas where we may falter. By confronting these tendencies, we can break free from the shackles of ignorance and move toward a life of greater wisdom, resilience, and clarity. In the spirit of Stoic philosophy, the following exploration offers 6 key signs of foolishness, each paired with insights and practices designed to guide us toward the path of self-improvement. In this journey, keep in mind the words of Marcus Aurelius. Do not act as if you had 10,000 years to live. Fate is at your elbow. Make yourself good while life and power are still yours. Wisdom is not a distant goal. It is the daily practice of self-examination, the courage to face discomfort, and the humility to admit that we are, and always will be, students of life. Sign 1. Blaming others. An undeniable sign of ignorance, as highlighted by Stoic philosophy, is the inability to accept responsibility and the habit of blaming others for life's setbacks. This behavior is not just an act of denial. It is a subtle, yet destructive evasion of personal growth. Seneca famously said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." Trials are inevitable, and they serve as critical moments for self-reflection and improvement. Yet, those who frequently blame others avoid confronting these trials, depriving themselves of the friction necessary to refine their character. Blaming others may offer a temporary sense of relief, but in reality, it creates a false sense of innocence while quietly eroding one's ability to learn and evolve. When failures are always attributed to external factors, whether it's a difficult boss, an unfair situation, or mere misfortune, it leaves no room for self-examination. Without self-examination, there can be no progress. The Stoics understood this well. Wisdom begins with confronting one's own flaws and weaknesses, not by pointing fingers at others. Reflect on a moment in your life when something went wrong. Did you instinctively blame someone else? Perhaps it was an argument where you believed the other person was entirely at fault, or a missed opportunity where you placed the blame on circumstances beyond your control. These reactions, though common, are barriers to growth. Each time we deflect responsibility, we miss the chance to examine what could have been done differently, and thus, we remain trapped in the same patterns, unable to rise above them. Epictetus teaches, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This Stoic principle reminds us that external events are beyond our control, but our response to them is entirely within our power. Those who blame others surrender this power, allowing external forces to dictate their inner state. In contrast, those who take responsibility reclaim their autonomy and gain the ability to direct their lives with wisdom and purpose. To overcome the tendency to blame others, begin by pausing in moments of difficulty and asking yourself, what role did I play in this situation? What could I have done differently? This shift in perspective transforms challenges from sources of frustration into opportunities for self-improvement. It requires courage to admit mistakes, but doing so strengthens character. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. By accepting responsibility, you take control of your mind, and with it, your path toward personal development." Accepting responsibility is not about self-condemnation. It's about adopting a balanced mindset. It means learning from mistakes without being weighed down by guilt. Life will always present difficulties, but what defines us is how we face them. The ignorant choose blame and stagnation. The wise choose accountability and growth. Every failure is an opportunity to reflect, learn, and improve. Those who embrace this mindset embody the Stoic ideal of continuous progress. As you move forward, take time to reflect on your past. Are there instances where blaming others prevented you from learning a valuable lesson? What opportunities for growth might you have overlooked by avoiding responsibility? Remember, the Stoics teach that wisdom begins not with the avoidance of failure, but with the willingness to learn from it. Each moment of accountability brings us closer to mastering ourselves and navigating life's challenges with clarity and strength. Blaming others may feel comforting in the short term, but it leaves us powerless in the long run. The key to personal growth lies in reclaiming that power by taking full responsibility for our actions. The Stoic path is one of steady, intentional progress. A path that begins when we stop casting blame outward and start looking inward. Sign 2. A closed mind. One of the clearest indications of ignorance, as emphasized by the Stoics, is a mind that is shut off from new ideas, perspectives, and the willingness to change. A closed mind acts as a self-imposed barrier, preventing growth and deeper understanding. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, wrote, "Be open to correction. If you are shown something better than what you hold, adopt it without hesitation." This is not merely a call for intellectual humility, but a profound reminder that wisdom flourishes only in those who are receptive to learning. What causes a mind to close itself off? More often than not, it is fear. Fear of being wrong. Fear of losing face. Fear of the unknown. These fears fortify the mind with rigid beliefs, creating a mental fortress that feels secure but, in truth, imprisons the individual. By clinging tightly to old ideas, we reject opportunities to evolve. The Stoics teach that our fear of change is largely imagined. Seneca observed, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." The discomfort we anticipate from admitting error is rarely as painful as we think, yet many resist out of pride, mistaking stubbornness for strength. A closed mind not only blocks out new information, but also halts personal inquiry. When we believe we already possess all the answers, we cease to ask meaningful questions. Without questions, there is no growth, only stagnation. Epictetus reminds us, "It is impossible to learn what you think you already know." Those with a closed mind are blind not because knowledge is unavailable, but because they refuse to see. They live in a world of certainty, unaware that true wisdom arises not from knowing, but from continuous seeking. To recognize this trait in oneself requires courage. Ask yourself, are there beliefs you've held onto without question? When was the last time you allowed someone to challenge your ideas without immediately becoming defensive? The answers may be uncomfortable, but they are essential steps toward greater self-awareness. The Stoics believe that acknowledging one's ignorance is the first step to wisdom. Only by dismantling the fortress of rigid thinking can we begin to build a mind capable of true understanding. How, then, can we open our minds? The process begins with small, deliberate actions. Seek out conversations with those who hold different views. Read books that challenge your assumptions. Practice active listening, not to prepare a rebuttal, but to genuinely understand. Marcus Aurelius said, What stands in the way becomes the way. The resistance we feel when confronted with opposing ideas is precisely where growth begins. Embracing discomfort is the price we pay for intellectual freedom. Importantly, having an open mind does not mean accepting every idea without discernment. Rather, it means being willing to question, to reflect, and to change when presented with better evidence. This balance of openness and critical thinking is what distinguishes wisdom from gullibility. By cultivating this practice, we not only expand our understanding but also develop the resilience needed to navigate life's complexities. Remember, a closed mind is not an inherent flaw, it is a habit formed over time. And like any habit, it can be broken through conscious effort. Each time we choose curiosity over defensiveness, we chip away at the walls of our mental fortress. Each time we allow ourselves to admit, "I might be wrong," we take a step closer to wisdom. So, ask yourself today, what belief am I holding on to that might no longer serve me? What is one small step I can take to open my mind to new possibilities? The journey to wisdom begins not with certainty, but with the courage to question, and the willingness to be transformed by what we discover. Sign 3. Overconfidence without merit. Another unmistakable sign of ignorance, according to Stoic philosophy, is unwarranted overconfidence, an inflated sense of knowledge or ability without the merit to support it. This kind of overconfidence is not grounded in genuine understanding but arises from a shallow comprehension of the world. Epictetus cautioned, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Yet those who are overly confident often react with arrogance, mistaking their limited perspective for complete mastery. Such behavior exemplifies what modern psychology calls the Dunning-Kruger effect, where those with minimal knowledge tend to overestimate their competence while those with true expertise are more aware of their limitations. At its core, overconfidence without merit stems from a lack of self-awareness. The Stoics taught that wisdom begins with humility, the recognition of how much there is yet to learn. Socrates famously said, "The only true wisdom is in knowing that you know nothing." This acknowledgement is not an admission of defeat, but a gateway to deeper inquiry. Those who lack this humility become trapped in their own certainty, blind to new perspectives, and deaf to correction. They stop asking questions, stop seeking understanding, and ultimately, stop growing. This misplaced confidence often manifests in loud opinions and unyielding stances. You may have encountered someone who speaks with absolute certainty about a complex subject, unwilling to entertain alternative viewpoints. Such individuals are not concerned with truth, but with appearing knowledgeable. Their loudness, however, does not mask the fragility of their understanding. It exposes it. True wisdom, as the Stoics teach, is quiet and reflective, rooted in a deep awareness of one's own ignorance. A wise person is less interested in being right and more interested in seeking what is right. To break free from the trap of overconfidence, one must cultivate intellectual humility. Begin by questioning your own certainty. When you feel entirely confident about a belief or idea, pause and ask yourself, could I be wrong? What evidence am I overlooking? What would someone with an opposing view say? This practice is not about undermining your own confidence, but about refining it, building it on a foundation of genuine understanding rather than shallow knowledge. Surrounding yourself with people who challenge your thinking is another crucial step. The Stoics believed in the importance of correction, both self-imposed and from others. Marcus Aurelius advised, "You must not only correct yourself, but allow yourself to be corrected by others." Engaging with those who offer constructive criticism forces us to confront our blind spots and grow in wisdom. Rather than feeling threatened by such challenges, we should welcome them as opportunities to strengthen our character and sharpen our intellect. Remember, overconfidence without merit is a barrier to progress because it shuts the door to learning. Those who believe they already know everything cease to explore the vast unknown. In contrast, those who remain humble in their pursuit of knowledge continue to evolve. Ask yourself, are there areas in your life where you have been overly confident without sufficient understanding? What steps can you take to question that confidence and seek deeper clarity? Wisdom, as the Stoics remind us, is not about clinging to certainty, but about embracing the endless process of learning. While overconfidence may offer temporary reassurance, it ultimately leaves us standing on a fragile pedestal that can be toppled by reality at any moment. Humility, on the other hand, provides a solid foundation, one that allows us to withstand the trials of life and emerge stronger. Therefore, approach life not with the arrogance of assumed mastery, but with the openness of a perpetual student. True strength lies not in claiming to have all the answers, but in having the courage to keep asking questions. Sign 4. Ignoring consequences. A defining mark of foolishness, according to Stoic philosophy, is the tendency to act without considering the long-term consequences of one's choices. It is a behavior rooted in impulsiveness, where immediate desires take precedence over thoughtful deliberation. Marcus Aurelius once remarked, "What we do now echoes in eternity." This timeless insight reminds us that every action, no matter how trivial it may seem in the moment, can have far-reaching effects. Yet, those who ignore consequences live as though only the present moment matters, blind to the ripple effects of their decisions. The Stoics believe that a wise person acts with foresight, weighing not only the immediate gratification but also the long-term impact of their actions. In contrast, those who lack this wisdom often find themselves in cycles of regret, realizing too late the cost of their impulsiveness. Overspending, speaking in anger, neglecting relationships, or making decisions without proper reflection. These are all examples of short-sighted actions that can lead to lasting harm. Seneca observed, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a great deal of it." Indeed, wasting time and potential by choosing fleeting pleasures over lasting growth is a hallmark of ignorance. Why do people ignore consequences? One reason is the allure of immediate comfort. The human mind is naturally drawn to what feels good in the moment, often at the expense of what is wise in the long term. Acting on impulse can seem easier than pausing to reflect. However, the Stoics taught that true freedom comes not from indulging every desire, but from exercising self-discipline and thoughtful restraint. Epictetus advised, "First say to yourself what you would be, then do what you have to do." This simple yet profound practice encourages us to align our actions with our long-term goals rather than short-term impulses. Reflect on your own life. How often have you made a decision without considering its future impact? Perhaps it was a financial choice driven by the desire for immediate satisfaction, only to regret the strain it caused later. Or perhaps it was a hasty word spoken in anger, damaging a relationship that took years to build. The Stoics remind us that wisdom lies in anticipation, in thinking ahead and choosing actions that contribute to the life we want to build. To cultivate foresight, begin by pausing before making decisions, especially in moments of strong emotion. Ask yourself 2 critical questions. What are the potential consequences of this action? And will this decision bring me closer to or further from the person I want to become? This habit, though simple, can profoundly alter the way you approach life. It shifts the focus from immediate pleasure to long-term fulfillment, from impulse to intentionality. Living with intention requires effort, but it is the foundation of a meaningful life. Marcus Aurelius taught, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." While we cannot control every external outcome, we can control how thoughtfully we act in the face of life's challenges. By considering the consequences of our actions, we gain the strength to navigate life with purpose, integrity, and wisdom. In a world driven by instant gratification, those who act with foresight stand out. They are the ones who build lasting success, nurture meaningful relationships, and find peace in knowing that their actions align with their values. Ask yourself today, are your current decisions leading you toward the future you desire, or are they merely satisfying short-term impulses? The Stoic way calls us to choose the path of foresight, to live not for the fleeting moment, but for the enduring legacy of a life well lived. True wisdom is not found in reacting impulsively, but in responding thoughtfully, always with an eye toward the horizon. Sign 5. Spreading negativity. Negativity, when spread unchecked, becomes a silent poison that infects both the person who harbors it and those around them. One of the surest signs of ignorance, as the Stoics observed, is the tendency to complain, criticize, and gossip. Seneca advised his followers, associate with those who are likely to improve you. This counsel was not only a call to choose positive company, but also a reminder to become someone who elevates others rather than dragging them down. The wise person understands that negativity weakens the mind and spirit, while the ignorant mistake it for strength, believing that by complaining or pointing out flaws, they display wisdom or discernment. Why do people spread negativity? Often, it stems from unresolved inner turmoil. Criticizing others may provide a temporary sense of superiority, masking one's own insecurities. Gossiping might create a false sense of connection, drawing people together through shared discontent rather than genuine understanding. Complaining offers short-lived relief, but rarely leads to meaningful solutions. Yet, as the Stoics taught, indulging in these habits is a path to weakness, not strength. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." When negativity becomes the default mode of thinking, it distorts one's perception of reality, turning life into a constant source of dissatisfaction. Negativity, like a disease, spreads quickly. A single complaint or harsh word can ripple outward, influencing the mood of an entire group. The Stoics believe that our inner state reflects outwardly, and by cultivating inner tranquility, we contribute to a more harmonious world. Conversely, those who spread negativity create an environment of mistrust and discord, not only harming others but also eroding their own sense of peace. Epictetus warned, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." When we react to life's difficulties with negativity, we amplify the problem rather than seeking constructive solutions. To break free from the habit of spreading negativity, begin by cultivating mindfulness. Pay attention to your words and thoughts. Are they contributing to improvement or merely adding to the problem? Ask yourself, is this complaint helping me find a solution, or is it just feeding my frustration? The Stoics believed in focusing on what is within one's control. When faced with a difficult situation, instead of resorting to blame or criticism, ask, what can I do to improve this? This shift from reaction to action not only reduces negativity but also fosters resilience and clarity. Another important practice is to guard against being influenced by the negativity of others. Just as we must be mindful of the energy we project, we must also protect ourselves from absorbing the negativity of those around us. Seneca advised, "Withdraw into yourself as far as you can." This does not mean isolation, but rather maintaining a mental boundary that allows you to remain centered in your own peace, even in the face of external turmoil. When surrounded by negativity, you have the power to redirect the conversation, offer a solution, or simply disengage from harmful discourse. Ultimately, the antidote to negativity is gratitude and constructive action. The next time you feel the urge to complain or criticize, pause and reflect on something you are grateful for. Gratitude shifts the mind from what is lacking to what is present, fostering a sense of contentment. In the same vein, instead of pointing out flaws, consider offering a solution or a word of encouragement. By doing so, you not only uplift those around you, but also strengthen your own character. Negativity, when indulged, leads to a life of bitterness and dissatisfaction. However, by cultivating mindfulness, gratitude, and a focus on solutions, we can break free from this cycle. Ask yourself, are you contributing to an atmosphere of growth and positivity, or are you spreading discontent? The Stoics remind us that wisdom lies in choosing our reactions carefully, understanding that the energy we project shapes both our inner world and the world around us. Choose to be a source of light in a world that often leans toward darkness. The journey toward wisdom begins with the conscious decision to foster peace, both within ourselves and in our interactions with others. Sign 6. Lack of empathy. A lack of empathy, the inability to understand or share the feelings of others, is a subtle yet profound sign of ignorance. The Stoics regarded empathy not as mere sentimentality, but as a necessary trait for wisdom and human connection. Epictetus advised, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." This ancient teaching reminds us that true understanding begins with listening, genuinely listening, not to respond, but to comprehend. Yet, those who lack empathy are quick to speak, slow to hear, and blind to the experiences of others, living in a self-centered bubble that isolates them from deeper connection. Why is empathy so essential? At its core, empathy allows us to see the world beyond our narrow perspective. Without it, we remain trapped in our own subjective experiences, unable to grasp the complexities of life as lived by others. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What injures the hive injures the bee." This metaphor underscores the Stoic belief in the interconnectedness of all human beings. When we disregard the feelings and needs of others, we ultimately harm ourselves, for we are all part of a greater whole. Those who lack empathy fail to see this connection, viewing others as obstacles or tools rather than as fellow travelers on the same journey. A lack of empathy often arises from self-absorption. When people are consumed by their own desires, fears, and struggles, they lose the capacity to recognize the emotions of those around them. This narrow focus leads to misunderstandings, broken relationships, and a diminished sense of community. The Stoics taught that wisdom involves transcending the self, acknowledging that while our individual experiences are important, they are part of a broader human experience. Seneca advised, "Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness." Empathy, then, is not just a virtue. It is a path to wisdom, guiding us to act with compassion, patience, and understanding. Cultivating empathy requires conscious effort. It begins with practicing active listening, paying close attention not only to the words others speak, but also to the emotions behind those words. When engaging with someone, ask yourself, what might they be feeling? What challenges are they facing that I may not fully understand? This exercise, though simple, can transform interactions, fostering deeper connection and mutual respect. It helps us shift from a mindset of judgment to one of curiosity, opening the door to greater understanding. Another critical step is to reflect on your own experiences of being misunderstood. Recall moments when others failed to see your perspective or dismissed your emotions. How did that make you feel? Use these memories as a guide to ensure that you approach others with the empathy you wished you had received. Marcus Aurelius encouraged this practice by advising, when you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, "The people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they cannot tell good from evil." Though this may sound harsh, it is, in fact, a reminder to meet the shortcomings of others with patience and empathy, knowing that ignorance often stems from pain or confusion. Importantly, empathy does not mean abandoning your own boundaries or agreeing with every viewpoint. Rather, it means making the effort to understand where others are coming from, even if you ultimately disagree. Wisdom lies in this balance, being firm in your principles while remaining open to the humanity of others. This approach not only strengthens relationships, but also deepens your own character, fostering patience, humility, and insight. In a world often marked by division and misunderstanding, empathy stands as a bridge to connection and harmony. Ask yourself, do you listen more than you speak? Do you strive to understand others before passing judgment? The Stoics believe that empathy is a mark of strength, not weakness, a sign of wisdom, not sentimentality. It requires courage to step outside oneself, to see the world through another's eyes, and to respond with kindness rather than indifference. Ultimately, a lack of empathy impoverishes not only our relationships but also our inner lives. Without it, we are isolated in our own ignorance, unable to grow through the shared experiences of others. The Stoics remind us that wisdom begins when we recognize that the struggles of others are not separate from our own. By cultivating empathy, we open ourselves to a richer, more meaningful existence, one grounded in understanding, compassion, and the profound realization that we are all, in the end, connected. Conclusion. Recognizing the signs of ignorance in ourselves is not a simple task. It requires humility, courage, and a commitment to self-improvement. The Stoics believe that wisdom is a continuous pursuit, a path that begins with introspection and leads to personal transformation. As Marcus Aurelius urged, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. The purpose of identifying these 6 signs of foolishness is not to condemn others, but to hold a mirror to ourselves, reflecting on our own habits, thoughts, and behaviors. True growth begins when we stop pointing outward and start looking inward. Each of these signs, a closed mind, blaming others, overconfidence without merit, ignoring consequences, spreading negativity, and a lack of empathy, represents a barrier to personal progress. Yet, as the Stoics remind us, these barriers are not fixed. They are habits that can be broken, perspectives that can be shifted, and weaknesses that can be transformed into strengths. The first step is to acknowledge where we fall short. The second is to take action, however small, toward cultivating wisdom in our daily lives. Consider this. Every day presents us with countless opportunities to practice Stoic principles. When faced with criticism, will you react defensively or will you listen with an open mind? When tempted to shift blame, will you take responsibility for your part? When making decisions, will you think only of immediate satisfaction, or will you pause to consider the long-term impact? These small, conscious choices shape the person you become. The Stoics teach us that wisdom is not a distant, unattainable ideal. It is found in the ordinary moments of life, in the way we think, speak, and act. As you reflect on what you've learned, ask yourself, what can I begin doing today to cultivate a wiser mind and a stronger character? The journey toward wisdom is not about perfection. It is about progress. It is about showing up each day, ready to learn, to question, and to grow. In a world that often encourages us to react impulsively and live superficially, choosing to live with intention and depth is a radical act. It is the essence of the Stoic way. If you found value in this exploration of Stoic principles, consider subscribing to this channel. Together, we can continue learning, reflecting, and striving to become better versions of ourselves. This is just the beginning of a lifelong journey toward wisdom and self-mastery. By subscribing, you'll join a community dedicated to personal growth, ancient philosophy, and the timeless pursuit of a well-lived life. Remember, as Marcus Aurelius said, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Choose thoughts of growth, resilience, and wisdom, and let this be the foundation of your life moving forward. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you on the path to greater understanding. Stay curious, stay humble, and continue seeking wisdom. Until next time.